and we can get this thing rolling here. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the second installment of the Illumination Works AR and IoT Winter Webinar Series. Today's session will feature yet another unique presentation and demo. This time, we're excited to show you Illumination Works' latest Innovation Lab project, which leverages paint hanger sensor data to build a monitoring and alerting dashboard using PTC's industrial IoT ThingWorx platform. Just some quick housekeeping notes before we begin. This session is being recorded and it will be distributed after completion and made available online. So keep an eye out for that after. We'll also have a dedicated time to answer questions toward the end of the webinar. We did just reserve 30 minutes for this, so we're going to try to squeeze a lot in, but we're hoping to have some time at the end. So if we go over, no problem at all. But we do encourage you to ask away throughout the presentation. You can use the chat box or the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. For those of you that have joined us before, you do know that we're going to pack a lot into just 30 minutes. So I want to start things off with a quick intro to our panelists. Today, I'm joined by Jim Blau, the digital transformation expert here at Illumination Works, and Stefan Salzman, the IoT designer and developer at Illumination Works. And I'm Connor Sullivan. I'm the partner marketer from PTC, so I'll be moderating today. But gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And without further ado, Jim, I'll pass it off to you so we can get things started here.
Connor, thank you very much. We appreciate everybody joining today. So today's demo and the whole session is based on a project we did in our innovation lab. And Illumination Works has a innovation lab in Dayton, Ohio, where we look at new technologies and we're able to take those and apply them to real life scenarios. This specific project we did was creating analytic dashboard for paint hangers for the U.S. Air Force. And what we set out to achieve was first is to provide this dashboard that allows the operators, allows the airmen, the civilians to be able to monitor the properties within the paint hangers. And when Stefan goes into the actual demo, you'll see that. We also took the simulated data that we were able to accumulate, put that into ThingWorx and build a very easy to use, very interactive UI around that data. As also part of this project is we actually have data that we simulate, which is actually a representation of real life data that the Air Force uses in paint hanger scenario. This actually would be sensors that would monitor things like air and water characteristics. And then we present this in the UI, which we created. So if we take a look at the actual business value of this, so what we would see in a real life situation is, one is we keep the operation running in an optimal way. We want to make sure we have the right temperature, right humidity, the right level and characteristics of the water. And then if something does go wrong, we want to identify those issues quickly, and we're going to be able to avoid a shutdown or a rework. As you can imagine, having to repaint an aircraft is very expensive, very time consuming. And then at the same time, maintaining a safe environment for the workers. So the advantages of an IoT platform such as ThingWorx are what you would typically like to achieve as a company, right? Maximizing revenue, reducing cost, and increasing efficiency. Our specific scenario, we really focus on increasing the throughput, increasing service levels. So let's get planes through as quick as we can. Let's keep that service level up. Let's reduce labor cost. I'm not having to do rework. Let's keep that down. Let's also provide a very safe and compliant environment. And at the same time, then really improving the efficiency of the paint hangers themselves. Let's get that utilization up so that we don't have to do rework. The basis of what we built is ThingWorx, and ThingWorx is part of PTC's enterprise model, and that goes everything from CAD to PLM to augmented reality, which we've mentioned in past webinars. Today, we're going to focus on ThingWorx. And ThingWorx is PTC's offering for industrial IoT. What makes this a great offering is the fact is we have a digital twin, a digital representation of a real device that goes across the entire environment, from engineering to service to marketing and sales to product innovation. And what we'll focus on is in the area of manufacturing, and specifically efficiency of manufacturing. So improves operator efficiency, reduce manufacturing costs, provide safe environment, really provide a quality and compliant environment for the workers. So ThingWorx, and what makes it the leading IoT platform for manufacturing in the industry is get these characteristics. One is purpose-built platform. It is built for an industrial IoT environment. It provides connectivity, scalability, security, so you can grow within your business. It can be deployed, developed, deployed, and extended very quickly. The tools that are available is to create your IoT application in a very efficient way and really getting value as quick as you can. And then the ability to provide flexibility within the tool. So I can run it in multiple environments, and we'll talk a little bit about that in one of the other slides. And then provide a real engaging experience. I want to be able to provide a dashboard, which you'll see when Stefan puts this together using the mashup tool, is to create a very user-friendly UI, or being able to extend that with an augmented reality tool, something like a studio or etc. And then it coexists in a very vibrant ecosystems with partners, with other offerings in the industry, and really being able to fit into that environment. So if we look at what the ThingWorx platform looks like, and we're going to focus a little bit on the platform itself, but it's got some characteristics. One, it's got these things called building blocks. Building blocks, if you kind of think of those, are pre-configured, pre-designed components that allow me quickly to develop my applications. There are specific applications that PTC offers in spaces that are all based on different roles, from asset to production, really across the board. Connectors, predefined, domain. So in the industry we're looking at, being able to take business logic and create very quickly my IoT environment, and then really this whole thing about UI. It's built upon a infrastructure that can be either cloud-based. Both PTC and ILW have a relationship with Microsoft, so the Azure cloud, I can build upon that. I could build it in on-prem, so maybe there's certain requirements from a security or safety standpoint. I need to implement my solution on-prem. That can be done, or it can be done in a hybrid environment. So I can actually go across multiple facilities and really be able to take advantage of that. And the other key thing is really being able to exist within your current landscape. So this isn't pull out what you're doing, but really coexist with your ERP systems, your MES systems, whatever you're currently running as a manufacturer. So if we go a little deeper into the actual capabilities of the platform, being able to connect. I can connect to all types of devices, all types of sensors, application systems, and that's all part of what is the ThingWorx platform provides. I can build and create this IoT application quickly and get it up and running, and it has the tools to do that. I then can take and unlock the actual insights and the data that I collect when I analyze it. So I'm able to do that. In our scenario, we kind of look at more of a descriptive type of analyzation. The fact is I am able to create reports, create dashboards, and be able to do ad hoc types of things. I can do that. Or if you can kind of envision taking that to a much higher level, I can manage it. So what do I do once I have this data available to me? How do I react? In our case is, what do I do if something goes wrong with the temperature of the air or the humidity, etc. And then really providing this experience, really being able to show that data so it can be consumed easily by the operators, which is all key. So that gives you an idea of what we did, gives you an idea of the basis of ThingWorx. Now I'm going to turn it over to Stefan to give us the demo.
All right, thank you, Jim, for the introduction. Like Jim and Connor mentioned before, my name is Stefan Salzman, and I'm an IoT developer and designer at ILW. And so before I go ahead and show you guys the paint hanger dashboard that we created, I'll go ahead and just outline the use case that we prepared. And so our use case involved the manager of the actual paint hanger, and this paint hanger is meant for the purpose of repainting military aircraft. And in this paint hanger is 7 individual bays. Each bay is capable of housing and painting an entire aircraft. And once a plane enters the facility in a single bay, it goes into the preparation stage. In this preparation stage, it is sanded down to its bare metal or applied with a solvent that strips down the old layer of paint. This is because applying a new layer upon an existing old layer of paint could add unnecessary weight to the plane that, they don't want. And once the plane has been properly stripped of all its paint and been ready to be painted, it can go ahead and enter the painting phase of the project. In the painting phase of the project, they use spray painting guns, which is a just high pressure, low volume system that allows thin layers of paint to be applied. This allows it to be very lightweight, but also look great once complete. These spray painting guns also use a zinc chromate based paint, which includes hazardous chemicals to the environment and to the plane itself in large amounts. And so the manager of the paint hanger is needing to monitor those properties closely to ensure the safety of both its airmen and the plane itself. And once the plane has been properly painted, it can go ahead and begin drying in what is known as the cure phase. In the cure phase, which can take anywhere from 1 day to a whole week to complete, it just has to dry. And during this time, the hazardous chemicals that were measured before in the paint phase also have to be closely measured in this phase to make sure that those chemicals aren't lingering around the hanger and dissipating in a timely manner. And once the plane has been certified and completed for the job, it can go ahead and enter back into service and begin flying again. And so now that we understand what we're using the paint hanger dashboard for via the use case, I'll go ahead and steal the screen from Jim and show you guys the current state of the dashboard. And for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to be taking the role of the manager that I outlined in the use case. So when I would log in, this is what I would see on an overview level. I can see all the bays out of 7 that are currently being occupied, as well as the plane type that's in the bay, as well as what stage in the project it's currently in. I can also see relevant properties involving the water and the temperature, as well as some sensors that could need attention or if everything's okay. And so for the purpose of this demo, I'll go ahead and go into Bay 1, where it's already in the prep phase. And I'll go ahead and show how a project would be completed. So I can go ahead and start by entering a plane name in the type, as well as entering a start date for the project and an end date for the project. And this is just to notify the workers just what kind of time period we'd want the project to be in. And in the prep phase, you can see both the air quality and the water quality measurements being monitored at the time. On the left, you can see a visual representation for the humidity for a time series chart, just to show the behavior over time. And on the right, you can see a gauge for the water hardness. The water hardness is just a measurement of particulates in the water to ensure that when they're spray painting the plane, there's not too many particulates that are going to be scratching the paint or scratching the plane itself. And this scale is measured on a colored scale, with green being very soft and red being very hard. This color scale is also reflected within the value display widget that we used in the ThingWorx mashup tool here. Once I've as the paint hanger manager, once I'm ensured that the paint has been properly stripped of all its older paint, I can go ahead and notify the workers that painting can begin. In the painting phase, you can see on the left that those hazardous chemicals have now been introduced into the environment and are now being monitored. You can also see every so often that a hazard symbol will appear. This is to alert me and the airmen that those chemicals in the environment have reached unsatisfactory or unsafe conditions, and that the employees of the paint hanger may need to evacuate and the project may need to shut down. But assuming that doesn't happen, I can go ahead and notify my workers once the paint has been completed that it can go ahead and enter the cure phase. In the cure phase, like I had mentioned before, the water quality measurements aren't being needed as the spray painting guns aren't being used. And on the left, we're still needing to measure the hazardous chemicals to make sure they're dissipating in a fast manner. And so airflow is also needing to be measured to, make sure those are being circulated out of the hangar. And if at any time I'm wanting to check on the status of any particular measurement at any given time, I can go ahead and click on this historical data sheet. This just shows a timestamp and the measured values at any given time for when they had changed. So now we understand what we're using the paint hanger analytic dashboard for. I can go ahead and just dive a little bit into the background in the technology where I'll show you how we built it, and as well as show you how to build like how this property is being displayed dynamically. I can go ahead and show you how to do that in the crew members in bay box here. So I'll go ahead and pass the screen back to Jim, where he'll display the technology part, and I'll go ahead and just describe how we built the paint hanger dashboard on the back end. So besides ThingWorx, what we mainly had to utilize is called the WebSocket Edge Microserver, or EMS. The EMS is just a series of configuration files that allows us to input the IP address in the application key. It basically outlines everything for us and allows us to just put it in so that we're connecting to the right instance of ThingWorx, and it makes it really easy to do so. It also makes the connection available for the Lua script resource, or the LSR. The LSR is what we use to dynamically display those properties. Like Jim had mentioned before, the sensors that were used are being simulated, so they're not actual real life sensors. And this Lua script resource makes it easy for us to dynamically simulate data. And it also allows us to create our thing or our entity inside of ThingWorx that allows us to post that property information. And once the EMS and LSR are running both correctly, that thing is created inside of ThingWorx and is able to post the property information from the Lua script resource into it. So it can post the data about the temperature and the humidity, as well as other properties that we wrote to it. And by using the data inside of the ThingWorx thing, we can now put it in context inside of the ThingWorx mashup tool. And the ThingWorx mashup tool is just what you saw before in the dashboard. That's the display view of it. And in the ThingWorx mashup tool, we can take those properties and give them context, as well as add functions for user needs. And so now we understand the technology a little bit better. I'll go ahead and show you how to write a property inside of the Lua script resource and connect it to our thing, as well as put it inside the mashup like I had mentioned before. So I'll go ahead and I'll steal the screen back from Jim. And this is the file that we use to create all of our properties inside of ThingWorx, as well as create the dynamic values that allow them to change inside of the mashup tool. And in order to do that, I put two little placeholders for that, one to create the property to ThingWorx and one to simulate the data. And in order to write a property into ThingWorx, we first have to label it as a property, as well as give it a specific name so that it's easier to find inside of ThingWorx, as well as give it some base data information. So the base type is just what type of data it is, which is a number. The push type is when it's communicating to ThingWorx. So every time this function runs, it'll change the value once we change it down here. and we're going to give it a default value of 0. So that's all you have to do to write the property into ThingWorx. And in order to give it a dynamic value, what we'll do is we'll create a variable. That's just what the local means. It's just a variable inside this property that we can use to give it a definition. And so our definition for this variable is that it's going to be a random number in between the values of 15 and 25. This just says that, I basically just said it, that whenever the cycle runs, it'll take this value and make it a number in between 15 and 25. And that's just to simulate data that's somewhat accurate. And in order to connect these two to make this variable value the property value, we just make them equal to each other. So I take the value of the ThingWorx property and I make it equal to the variable that we created. And I can go ahead and I'll save that file and go back into the ThingWorx tool. Here's the entity that I was talking about where we post all of our information. You can see just the current values of all of our properties right here. And in order to connect or bind the property that I just wrote to the Lewis script file, what I'm first going to have to do is restart the EMS in the Lewis script resource. This is just because when I edited that file with a new property, it just has to shut down and restart to ensure that those updates take place. So I just went ahead and restarted that. You can see that it disconnected. And when I refresh, it's now connected again. I can go into the manage bindings or the connections from the Lewis script resource. On the right, you can see all the values that are currently connected. And on the left, you can see values that are available to be connected. So I can scroll down and see that the Bay1 crew member number sensor that I created made it to the update. I can go ahead and drag and drop it on the right to add. And when I click save, you can see that it's now simulating that data whenever I refresh it in between those two values that I gave it. And so now that we have it added into our thing, I can go ahead and go into the ThingWorx mashup tool. This is the ThingWorx mashup tool in a design view so that I'm able to edit everything. Here I can add several widgets like a text box or a checkbox. But what I'm mostly concerned with is the value display box here that we're going to use to bind our property information to. So I can just go ahead and click on it and then click the down arrow it produces and configure bindings, which is just configuring the connection or data that it's relaying. And I can add a source for the value of that box. And we're going to make the crew member number sensor the value for that box. So I can go ahead and click save. It might take a few seconds to reflect that. And once I click view, we can go ahead and we can already see that the property that we displayed is now simulating dynamically given the numbers that I parameterized it within the Lewis script resource. As you can see, that was pretty simple to do to write it to the file and then add it. If a dashboard with relaying properties or sensing some stuff is appealing and you're wanting to learn more about it, we are happy to train people in order for you to gain that educational knowledge or build it ourselves and just hand it over. So with that, I hope you enjoyed my side of the demonstration, and I'll go ahead and pass it back to Jim.
Stephen, thank you very much for the demo. And I think we would all find that pretty fascinating. I mean, being able to see what a real life environment, whether it be, a paint hanger or any other type of manufacturing type of scenario, you can see the real strength. And that gets us into what does ThingWorx really provide? What is an industrial IoT offering really provide to you? And we kind of have mentioned these before, but I want to kind of reinforce that. First of all, is we are maximizing your revenue, right? So I increase throughput. So by being able to look at all the different characteristics of the paint hangers, you can imagine is the throughput's going to go up, and I can react quickly. Reduce time, right? Reduce time as in the tool. So as Max and as Stefan showed, being able to create the UI that we presented, that dashboard, was something that can be done quickly, and you can get value very quickly. That's going to drive costs down because I now have this view across all of my processes around my products. So as you can imagine, I'm going to increase productivity, I'm going to increase efficiency, and at the same time, I'm going to reduce cost. And along with that is improving quality, right? Is I now have a view, which I now have all of this information and this data that really sometimes exists and I just don't look at, where I now know that the temperature is too high, or the humidity is too high or too low, or the CO2 level, and I can really increase the quality of my process or my actual system. And then, as we mentioned, this concept of flexibility, being able to implement it on your premises, in the cloud, or a mix of both, a hybrid type of approach, really being able to do that. So you can really see the value that the ThingWorx can deliver. And hopefully we were able to show that through our paint hanger scenario today. So with that said, we really appreciate you joining. We actually have an upcoming webinar in the beginning of May that really builds upon what we're doing. This is taking IoT kind of the next level with a smart factory, smart base type of scenario. We've actually created, again, in our innovation lab, where we're actually taking real life sensors and we're creating a factory or a base that we're then going to do some analytics against it. We're going to be able then to start really bringing in that data. So again, that is scheduled for May the 6th. And again, if you, as Stefan said, if you have any questions, I want to learn more about this and about what Illumination Works can deliver, what PTC's ThingWorx or any of their offerings, please feel free to contact us. We have our emails and telephone numbers. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Connor and let him close it out for us.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Stefan. Awesome presentation, guys. And before I hop into the Q&A, for those who are still here, just want to remind you that there is a poll active. We really would appreciate just getting any feedback that you can provide us to those poll questions. This really helps us with
And Connor, did we have any questions?
yes, we do have one question that came in. Something like this take to develop, and what kind of experience is really required as a part of that for you to put this together?
Okay, so how long this took to develop was so I actually had started my job at Illumination Works about a year ago after I graduated college, and as a part of my training, this was something that we were given to develop and see if we could achieve. And having just been exposed to ThingWorx, it took relatively little time to develop fully, about 3 to 4 months to actually learn everything, learn how everything works, create the connection from the WS EMS to the LewisScript resource, all of which was entirely new to me. And, after I had learned to do those things for the first time, having to do them again took very little time. So having to teach someone that or apply it again would be very easy. But for the first time doing it, 3 to 4 months was how long it took.
Awesome, cool. And you would say, so it really, you being new to using the tool, that seems like a pretty quick amount of time for someone with, limited experience in working with ThingWorx, which is
Yeah,
definitely
ThingWorx,
positive.
it makes it very much easy to see what's going on and how to do things. It's very straightforward with how ThingWorx provides it to you.
And
Awesome.
that's where really one of the things that Illumination Works does. We represent PTC's offering, but more importantly, we help integrate those and help people get them implemented. And so we have resources like Stefan and others in our organization that can work with you, help you develop this, educate you, and do skills transfer with the ThingWorx tool.
Well, I think, I know we're over the 30-minute mark here at now, or please reach out to Jim, Stefan, or myself. You can see the contact information here on the slide. This recording, again, will be available. So if you want to, take another look through it, digest it, all the materials will be provided to you by Illumination Works. So please keep an eye out for that. And just again, thank you to everyone for attending today. Hopefully you found this valuable, and another thank you to Jim and Stefan for the presentation. It was awesome. So everyone have a great rest of your day and enjoy the weekend.